what Satya Nadella, our CEO, says is absolutely key and essential for us to achieve more, because what we aim is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And we believe that without the success of our customers, we will not be successful as an organization, as a person. So he encourages us, and this is what I'm doing as well, to find motivation that we are making this mission possible. And my motivation personally is to bring people together and show them how they can be faster and achieve more. And bring people together could mean business and IT, could mean different parts of the organization, and then use approaches like design thinking, use agile as methodology behind and scale in that way. So let's think about a future, a future in which you can enable your customers to connect with your business in the way they want, and to have these experiences personalized so that they can enjoy anytime, anywhere, this interaction with your company. Imagine that your employees could work efficiently across the organization, sharing the right information at the right time with the right teams so that they can be better aligned and that the processes can run smoothly. And imagine that you could leverage the customer insights, all the data that you have about them in a way that matters, in a way that helps you innovate and, in this agile mode, tailor what they need in terms of products and in terms of services that you offer to them. And this is basically the vision of your digital transformation. So if you look at it more closely, we are talking here about the 4 pillars of a digital transformation agenda. So it starts with engaging your customers, goes through empowering your employees, then of course optimizing your operations, and not last, and a very important one, transform your products, transform your services in a way that your customers can benefit even more. So these 4 pillars are very, very important in terms of the digital transformation. And now, if you think about if we have a program focused on driving customer experience and omni-channel customer experience, do you think we need to focus on just the first pillar? Well, I think the answer is more or less clear, because if you do not include essential elements of the other 3 pillars in your customer experience program overall, then you may not be successful in achieving the most out of this first pillar, engage your customers. And here I want to share my experience in the past, being in telecom, a company that basically, in order to be successful, you need to start with your customers, but think about engaging, empowering your employees to achieve more. So it naturally becomes like the very important next pillar in your program. And if you think about, how do you optimize your processes? How do you transform your products? How do you come with the right ideas to innovate and to do more? You need to think of a lab or a factory, a way that you bring people on the team across functions together, enable them to brainstorm, to innovate, to come up with ideas and then prioritize and implement those based ideas. So I'm thinking about the transformation program in the area of customer experience about 3 points. Yeah, and you always remember 3 points, right? So the first one is engaging your customers. The second one is like empowering your employees, engaging them to deliver, to be their best selves, if you like. And third, ensure that this kind of lab or factory designing new and innovative experiences works properly. And this means 3 key pillars in your program are a must, but ultimately they cover aspects of those 4 digital transformation pillars. And how do you start to prioritize? Yeah, if you think about, of course, we need to start with the customer. And you have heard about customer journeys. I know that Vodafone is actually a very mature company on that. So we start with the personas, and then we think about as this journey. map that they have, and then we brainstorm ideas using this kind of design thinking mode. So looking at the empathy map, the as-is, the ideas, the prioritization, and then coming up with a to-be journey, so the future state. And the journey, however, has become more and more complex, meaning that, it used to be like, pre-purchase, purchase, and post-purchase. And then you think how the persona, our customers, interacts with us across channels. But exactly this across channels, has come to mean more in the last years, if you like, which means the journey is getting more complicated. We need to be looking at different channels, and making sure that we gather the insights from these interactions and make sure that they are leveraged across all of our channels to deliver these personalized experiences to our customers. So this second journey map here that I'm showing highlights exactly that. So the importance of social media, the importance of digital channels, the importance of, being really very optimized, to deliver on these personalized experiences in that new environment, so to say. And if you think about how we as Microsoft see that, we talk about the intelligent cloud and the productivity cloud. So the intelligent cloud is where the insights are collected, so to say, are drawn, are analyzed, and the productivity cloud is where you basically deliver the experiences we aim for our customers. And this kind of technology setup is what enables you to achieve more for your customers and for your business. So if you look at this storyboard as an example, we encourage our customers to think about, okay, what are the benefits from what you propose as a solution in order to drive omni-channel customer experience? And then how do you measure it? Because if you don't know what success means, then how can you be sure that you are getting there, that the customers are getting what they need, and that you as a business are achieving what you wanted, that your people are becoming more engaged, and really enthusiastic about delivering this omni-channel experience? And then you think about, okay, what are the things that we need to start doing, so completely new? What are the things that we need to be stopped doing because they were not adding value in this customer journey? And are they really good things? Because not everything is bad, right? There are some really nice things in the customer journeys that we want to reinforce, that we want to do more of. So you can use this as an example, to focus on the benefits and how you measure success, but also define very specifically the things you want to start, stop, or continue doing. And then I wanted to highlight our own experience as Microsoft, that you can have just as something to refer to and maybe aspire to. We mentioned the digital transformation with the 4 pillars, right? And what we as Microsoft aim to achieve is connected customer experience. So our mission is very big, right? It's very ambitious, if you like, to empower every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more. And you can only achieve that if you think about customer experience end to end, and make sure that you continuously exceed the customer expectations by ensuring this connected customer experience. And it can mean across different channels, but it also means in terms of engaging with different people from Microsoft as a team. So it has to be consistent. Then we defined our mission and our goals in the following way. So we want to create customer value by accelerating the usage of our products and services, by delivering easy and connected customer experience, and also building trust. So this part of the relationship with the customer is very, very essential and critical for not just ensuring the smooth experience and now, but also building on it and ensuring we can achieve more together. Then certainly it helps when we think about design principles that we have defined those principles generally, because when people innovate across the organization, and it's a 140,000 people across the world, right? They need to be guided by those design principles and still be agile and work in smaller teams on the different projects in order to deliver on these experiences. And these are the principles that we aligned on. So technical intensity is basically meaning that a human plus technology can achieve more together. So bear in mind, how you can scale, bear in mind how we can personalize, bear in mind how we can use insights in order to enable humans to achieve more. It's not about, roles being, let's say, scarce or not needed anymore. It's exactly the opposite. Investing the human talent and intellect into areas where it is absolutely making a difference, and getting rid of the boring tasks, on the other hand, by leveraging technology and achieving scale and savings in that way. So some of the other things are self-explanatory. So I'm sure you understand very well. So the personalized approach. And also when we talk about simplicity, it's very important. We tend to make things complex and even more complex, but this is not what is needed. Yeah. Think about in every concept you develop, 3 points. People remember 3 things. So if you take away this as an example, simplicity is what matters also for our customers. They're looking for 1-click experience or 3 clicks experience, but not really the complex solution that we think from all different angles. And empowered, I want to stress how important it is to make people who design these experiences also empowered to do the best for our customers. Very, very important. And in terms of delivery, on the right-hand side, you see here the dimensions that we think about. So, and they complement each other. So we think about in product. So how do we design our products that they are naturally well thought out for delivering the best customer experience? But then how do we combine the digital and human aspects to make 1 + 1 is more than 2, right? So these are our principles, means of delivery in order to achieve our goals. And end-to-end, we think about, developing the products and services, but also after customers have bought them and start using them, how to ensure the support is absolutely fluent. And we focus on customer success, meaning not just what matters to us, but what does success mean for our customers? And through that success, we are becoming successful. So in that sense, insights are very important, also all the way through, also in the post-purchase stage, where we can basically offer to our customers ways or best practices, how they can use these products and technology even better, for optimal experience and for the best business results. So we deliver on our customer needs for certainly a broad spectrum of our customers. So it's not just enterprise, but also the consumer's business throughout the end-to-end cycle and across all of the products and services. You can imagine that it's very complex and similar to your business as well. Now, I wanted to highlight a few insights because they are so very true, right? Some studies have been done that indicate that customer service is actually a differentiator, meaning that this is a factor in the brand choice for 95% of the people around the globe. And some of the trends that are evolving and there are that the expectations are continuously rising. It's like an elevator, right? You think you are now better and deliver better customer experience, but all of a sudden the expectations of customers have been raised, and you think you're going up, but actually you need to do even more the next time. So increasing demand for personalized services from our customers, and they are willing to get value-added service every time, every next time, even more. So where we find help is exactly AI, data, and automation. These are the 3 trends, so to say, or ways we can leverage in order to revolutionize support and achieve more. So if you look at the challenges at the same time that are influencing, these trends and are forcing companies to think in an innovative way, is how many customers are engaging with us across different channels. So it says here 59%. They would use more channels, and they expect consistency when they interact across channels. So more than 90% are expecting that. But are we ready? And I guess in the last years, these numbers might have gone up, but very few of the contact centers and organizations are actually absolutely feeling ready for that. It says here 8.4%. And a number of the channels are actually still managed in silos. So this is definitely having a room for improvement. At the same time, the way customers interact with us is via different channels, but the traditional channels are becoming less and less, and the digital channels are becoming more and more as a number of these contacts. And thinking about our people, because these are the people who need to deliver, right? Either by designing products, implementing new products and services, or engaging in a face-to-face or virtual conversation with our customers. Now, the generations that are working together are actually 5. So our people are so diverse as a team, as a power that we can use in order to achieve more. Now, they are collaborating, right? But 80% of the employees' time is actually spent on collaboration. They are not working like in silos or on their own. They are spending time together in order to achieve more. Now, global dimension is here, and COVID has accelerated it in the past year and months. And we saw that it is true. 80% and more of the people started collaborating virtually and working remotely by the end of 2020. And this needs to be considered because this has an impact on what's coming. And the model of work has definitely changed over time. So I don't expect that people will be coming back to their old normal, right? There will be a new normal evolving, and we need to be ready for it or take the best advantage of it, meaning, the companies who are actually leveraging technology in order to reimagine customer experience, re-engage their workforce. They are the ones who will be successful in the short term and in the long term. So use the momentum, not just to try to recover, but to reimagine new things. So this leads me to the new reality. And you have seen what has happened in the last month. So these are just a few numbers here. We have increased difficult calls, which means the calls that customer service agents had to tackle have become more complex, right? And they have increased 2 times. So if we can automate the more easy ones to handle, we still needed human power to tackle those more complex problems that were growing. At the same time, we needed to sell remotely, right? Especially in B2B context, because at some point in some of our countries, it has gone to 0. The number of interactions in sales context in a person-to-person mode, it has gone down to 0. So let's think about how prepared are organizations for this. And it says here, it was March 10 when this study was done by Gartner, that just 2% believe that they will continue after this pandemic in the same way as they did before. So like everybody's expecting a new normal, and the balance need to be still found, the most effective and successful model of operation. And we mentioned omni-channel, multi-channel approach, etc. Now, this also has changed in the sense of the pandemic, driving new rules, and trying to accommodate the new needs in this new world, new normal. So you see the number of people who bought online but then picked up in store, this has drastically increased as well. So we need to consider this kind of trends and make sure that we innovate around that. We come up with suggestions, what would work better in this new environment for our customers. So the way Microsoft approaches this, and this is what we share also with our customers and help them, is the immediate crisis response is the first thing. Many are going through and have been through already. Then restarting the economy, so they are trying to recover and make sure that they are achieving good business results, staying connected with their customers, but also, as I mentioned, reshaping for tomorrow. So making sure that manage the relationship with their customers to improve the long-term engagement, making sure that they provide consistent levels of support across different channels, and making sure that at the right time they are there for their customers with the right thing they need. So it does require thinking out of the box. It does require stepping in the shoes of the customer in this new context. But this is what pays off if we do it now versus in 1 year's time when it's already, let's say, expected and taken by somebody else as a business. So the 3 areas I want to highlight very quickly, because we do have the technology here, but it's not necessarily to be this technology, right? You can think it through from the technology you are using at Vodafone. So the 3 areas are respond to changes in real time, what we need to do, then stay connected with our customers, retain them, achieve more with them, for them, and maintaining business continuity and drive growth. So in each of those areas, and I will share with you the slide, so we don't need to go here in detail. In each of those areas, there are different aspects that help you deliver. But important is to have the underlying technology, of course, because you need to be handling now increased case volume. We talked about the complexity behind. At the same time, you need to optimize. You need to optimize the service and resources. And in the new world, the new normal, the employees need to be collaborating remotely and delivering things remotely. So how do you do that? Well, there are ways and technology innovations that help with, and here is an example. I will share with you the link to the video so you can see it afterwards, not to use the time for the discussion here. But it basically offers HoloLens as a way that someone who is in this environment on site can use the HoloLens and interact with another expert who is actually not on site, but has the insight how to solve a specific problem. Or use the HoloLens to have access, easy access to any guides or information, additional insight that is needed to solve the problem. So you see here on the picture, this kind of collaboration mode. It can be even the customer on site using some technology and connecting remotely with our experts to solve problems, to access information and knowledge in order to be quicker in resolving. Then if you think about the retaining and staying connected to customers, there are certainly other aspects to tackle. And many of our customers actually needed to do this remotely. They needed to stay connected, and they found a number of them that the B2B scenario was very critical and important. So they embraced new technologies to stay connected in this kind of approach, using online meetings and connecting still virtually, making what the customers need possible. Digital experiences is something that is more or less a status quo. It is expected and it allows us to scale. And maintaining customer relationship, we mentioned several times already. But more importantly, how do you eliminate silos, yeah, and reduce costs? We are seeing as Microsoft, even though we might seem to be more ahead than others, yeah, in terms of digital collaboration, we are seeing that actually working remotely or in this hybrid mode leads to falling back, or a risk to fall back in the silos that we used to have in the past. So as leaders, we need to be thinking about, okay, how do we prevent this from happening? How do we ensure that in this new hybrid and digital world and collaboration, we keep our people engaged and engaged across the organization, so across the different business units? It is a challenge, but when we think consciously about that, it is something that leaders can solve. And last but not least, we need to be maintaining business continuity and certainly aim for growth. This is the part where we reimagine, yeah, the world. I want to mention here, for example, something that we are thinking about the workforce. So reimagine employee experience. And while it may not be connected to, directly customer experience, as I mentioned in the first part of the presentation, it's absolutely critical. I mean, without the employees, we cannot really deliver outstanding and omni-channel customer experience. So what we started, helping customers with is exactly reimagining the employee experience. And this means, thinking about the end-to-end employee journey and what it takes, yeah, at different stages, be it onboarding or working in a hybrid mode, or growing, learning new skills in this digital environment. So this becomes an essential part. Yeah, think through how customer experience, yeah, drives certain priorities for improving the employee experience, and how do you use both, yeah, to achieve more as a business. So this slide just highlights the end-to-end customer service. I will not spend a lot of time because I think it's pretty clear. What's important here is the insights. The insights part, which is the last pillar here, but also the integrations. And there are technologies that allow for integrations across the different modules, if you like. For example, the Dynamics 365 at Microsoft is one of them. But as I said, this is not the only technology that can be leveraged. Now, think about the pragmatic approach. How do you drive this process from insights to outcomes? And I wanted to highlight this because it's very simple to remember. So understand the customer insights in terms of service we have provided, interactions they have had with us is the starting point. But then think about automation, and there are certain criteria behind. I'm sure some of you might know them. For example, the process is relatively standard, there are not so many exceptions, or it's very repetitive. So if we automate, we will really achieve a lot of savings behind. So there are some criteria behind, but we think about, okay, how can we save costs, yeah, achieve better customer experience by automating, for example, by using virtual agents. And they are called Power Virtual Agents in this Power Platform world. And then, of course, we need to track. We need to make sure that we meet certain service level agreements. We need to achieve this great customer experiences. So a lot of tracking and technology helps here as well. But last but not least, yeah, very, very important, it's how do we shift? So if you look at these interactions, if you look at these cases and the resolution, which of those make sense to be resolved or addressed in a different channel, and how? So this is what we call omni-channel for customer service. So the best use of technology is when you get prompted about how to shift for better efficiency and for better experience. And what is here in the middle is actually the teamwork and the collaboration part, because all these conversations, experiences, workflows, think about the things that you cannot automate necessarily because they are exceptions or complex, etc. Well, you need your experts still. And this is where the collaboration comes into play, reaching the right expert at the right time, quickly getting it resolved, right? And this is what, for example, we do with the teamwork part around Microsoft Teams. So it's all about delighting our customers. And, you know, with all the insights that we can collect across the different channels, it's really important to use them to sometimes surprise the customers, because emotions are so very important. You know, emotions drive this kind of loyalty, drive this connectedness, yeah, between you and the customers, and the willingness to stay with you. And this is an example here of how our customer journey would ideally look like. So this is what we aspire as a team to achieve. And I wanted to share with you as an example, because every company needs to think it through as a cross-functional team, and then communicate as values across the organization. Because unless every single employee feels it like, you know, these are the values that we as a team stand for, and I personally have made a decision to contribute, then you will not be successful. So one of our important parts in our Microsoft world was to have this single point of orchestration. So when we talk about omni-channel experience, it's a kind of omni-team experience, because with whomever you talk, you need to get the consistency. You need to have the feeling that the team is responsible for this account is talking to each other, right? So this is an important aspect as well. And the other thing I believe are also very self-explanatory to some extent. So deeply understanding the customers. How do we do that? Of course, based on insights, based on the relationship we are building with them, based on trying to predict their future needs, and not just, being happy with, oh, whoa, we met what they asked for. No, we need to be proactively offering what they even don't know that they needed. So this is the way we think about the future. Will say that probably this is the differentiating part of successful businesses. Yes, and detecting and resolving issues before even the customers would know, or before they are affected. This is the proactive support part, which is very, very important. Of course, you need technology behind. You need to have kind of proactive maintenance, if you like, or you need to have IoT, in place and working properly and set up. So a lot of things that you can brainstorm as a team, and this leads me again to the customer journey I shared at the beginning, because this part of the design thinking exercise is to be done by the cross-functional team. And the cross-functional team, together with customers involved, of course, because we need to better understand what they need, is what gives the insights and gives us the food for thought and the prioritization, what to do and how to do it right. Yes, and what we aim, I started with it, is to have our customers achieving more, because this is what we believe is a prerequisite, if you like, for our success. And here I just want to highlight again the teamwork, because it's all across from the beginning to the end. If you think about the omni-channel customer experience, it's the technology, but also the teamwork that makes it happen. And this is what is foundational for the customer success overall. So the teamwork plus technology is what makes it count. And last but not least, I wanted to share with you these insights from McKinsey, because ultimately we want to measure success, right? We want to be proudly saying, yes, we have made it. We have gotten there. But how do you measure it? And there are multiple, metrics and KPIs that you can define. But ultimately, if you think about the top three that count also for our management and stakeholders and shareholders, this is the revenue increase. And McKinsey predicts that customers, businesses that focus on the end-to-end customer journey, they outperform competitors by achieving 15% revenue increase. by achieving 20% increase in terms of customer satisfaction and 20% decrease in cost to serve. So this should be like our guiding or North Star. This is what we aim to achieve with this kind of design thinking, innovation, teamwork, and technology approach. And yes, this will make it possible for us to delight our customers with every interaction through a connected customer experience. Thank you very much. This is the end of my presentation, and I would like to open it for questions. Let us use the rest of the time to have a discussion around it.
Thanks a lot, Svelta.
Welcome.
Thanks for the presentation. When you mentioned the emotional part, so I was wondering what are the things that press these buttons of emotions with the customers, other than the communications and above the line and the branding thing?
Mm-hmm. So I think they are different in terms of who the customer is. Yep. So it would be one thing.
خلاص ماشي وانا معايا.
Yeah, I think somebody is not on mute, but I think it's now better. So I think the emotional part and how we delight customers can be very different in terms of the different personas we have. So for a consumer, it would be one thing. For an enterprise customer, it would be completely different thing. So actually, I would ask the cross-functional team to come together with some customers in order to brainstorm that what it means for your business. I have seen very, very nice stories in telecom about customers being surprised, at certain anniversary, for example, and having the chance to win something. And this something can be also very, very different. It doesn't need to be monetary even, but having a dinner with the CEO, for someone who is going to have, a competition around his singing skills and maybe would be funded by the CEO, has proven to be a wow moment for some customers, back in Serbia at the time when I was in the group of A1. So emotional things can be very different. And in order to figure out what's the best thing, ideally, we brainstorm as a team, but ideally we also involve some of the customers and talk to them. In an enterprise world, I see what our customers, for example, for Microsoft, are being surprised at is, of course, some absolutely cool features that they wished to have. And we have heard them using the user voice for our products. And we have prioritized them and made them possible earlier for them in their environment, if you like, technology environment. And this has made a difference because imagine a customer who is enterprise business. They have planned a big fair with thousands of customers of their own. And they wished for a cool feature in a kind of webinar or this kind of live event that they can engage better with these customers so that they can also generate leads and follow up with them. And we made this innovation happen earlier for them and on time for this event, which is so special for their business. So this can be a differentiator, right? So this is what excites them and makes them feel like, wow, it's so powerful, and the relationship grows and strengthens in that way. I wonder what the number one challenge is to creating effective cross-functional.
Thanks, Vela. I'm Clemson. I'm sorry I joined a little bit late, but I really appreciate your thoughts about cross-functional teams, and that cannot be easy. Do you have like a couple of key things that you use or that leaders within your organization use to create seamless cross-functional teams?
Yeah, I hear you, and I can only confirm how true this is. And I can share a couple of examples from my own experience. And one of them is related to a cross-country collaboration, because remember, I started in a telecom in Bulgaria, and I have remembered so well, yeah, how challenging it is, because you always think that these projects and solutions are being pushed down to you and you have to use them, but you don't see the value. Yeah.
Right.
And this has been so strong in me when I was at the group level, then driving customer experience. And I was seeing, countries wanted to just get out of this or that project because they couldn't see the value for them as people, as team, as business. Yeah. So I decided to take another approach. And I said, okay, here is the vision, what we want to achieve. So for the customer experience program, I defined a vision where we want to get as a group, as a team, right? And I came up with that vision, and imagine what happened. Out of 7 countries, 5 countries did not, 5 countries had teams, and the other 2 even did not have customer experience manager or team at all.
Wow.
And you know what happened? These 2 came and say, well, I want to be part of that. This sounds cool. This sounds cool. We absolutely need to benefit out of this program, build the skills in our organization, deliver these great customer experiences for our customers, right? I am hiring, yeah, in order to take part of this program. So what I think matters is the vision, first of all. Second, it's the priorities that you need to work on. But the priorities, in my view, they don't come from the boss, so to say, from the manager. They did not come from me. I said, well, guys, here is the vision that we want to achieve, but now let us work through the priorities together.
Wow.
And then I asked them, please share your best practices from the countries, because I know that you are cool. I know that you're doing great things. And all of the 7 countries, especially the 5 who had their, teams already, they came up with something. And then we formed agile teams around that. And we said, okay, let us pick 5 priorities on that, yeah, to work on our vision. Great. And on these 5 priorities, let us form 3 people teams, only 3 people in a team, and say, okay, I want one of them to be with experience in this topic. So maybe they had some best practice already. The second one should be one who is willing to develop in this direction, develop their skills, learn something new, whatever, some motivation behind. And the third one, maybe a country who was at a green field in this area, they did not have anything, but they think they might be doing this in the future. So this third one could ask the right questions and challenge, well, we haven't heard about that, we have never done it, but how can we do this or that? And you know what? This approach improved even the best practices of the countries who shared them, because there were people motivated to learn and asking the right questions, and there were people motivated to do something to make a difference, also asking the right questions. So these 3 people, agile teams on each of the 5 priorities, came up within 2 to 3 weeks time frame. So it has to be time boxed, if you like, to have results. They came up with the solutions and reported, so to say, played it back to the rest of the team. And then we as a team decided, okay, well, in some of those, there is potential to scale. Do you want to do this as well? I just asked the other countries, and they said, yes, I want to do this. And this started at the team levels. I can tell you the experts are very much ready for this kind of agile leadership approach and design thinking. So my next challenge was to bring the middle management along, yeah, and the top management along. And what counted with the top management was the results. Because when within 3 months, I could show what we have done as a team, how we have, based on our vision, defined our priorities and had a quick wins on some of those, the top leader of the organization or the CEO started saying, well, wow, this is cool. I want to support you to achieve more. And I need this for Mexico, right? So, you have to have different approaches, of course, to engage the different people. So you need to be thinking about the stakeholder, the drivers, the motivation, the focus on results, etc., and figure out what matters to them. And then, I mean, this was so invaluable as experience, you know, within a couple of years, what we have achieved as a group at A1 with this kind of approach across functions. And it's very important also to engage the other business units. So in every design thinking exercise that I have done, and it's not just in A1, but also now as Microsoft Customer Success Manager, you know, I bring business, so across functions, could be sales, marketing, HR, etc., with IT together. And I put them in one room and I say, hey, do you want to achieve more together? So they are very pessimistic at the beginning, you know, but how do we do that? I mean, they are so different, you know. But then you work with this design thinking approach and you put in focus, you know, the goal that unites them. And you make sure that, you know, they have the words to say what should be a priority in this kind of teamwork. And when you highlight, you know, that there is a benefit for each one of them, be it IT or the specific business unit, yeah, and you make sure that it's a combined goal, then it becomes the common goal of a team, then they are running. They are not walking, they're running together.
Oh,
so
yeah.
An example was how we leveraged Microsoft Teams, for example, for this is a banking customer, yeah, a very big, based in Austria and in 14 countries in Central and Eastern Europe, yeah. And this was a cross-country and cross-business unit exercise working on five different personas, so finance, IT, marketing, sales, etc., defining in cross-functional teams, so IT person, somebody from the sales or marketing area, and other people to give insight or ask the right questions if you want, and defining the journeys in this way, and then the priorities.
And I'm also hearing that there was a lot of internal buy-in and also a lot of decisions that were made internally to the group that senior leadership accepted because they were getting results. They were moving the process forward, but also the product was being created. And that's very, very powerful. I think we've got about 2 or 3 minutes left, and you just want to make sure we've got time to get another question from the group. So Omar, Ayman, Amir, Motaz, any questions? Islam, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm fine. Thank you.
I'm okay. Thank you so much.
Svetla, thank you very much for joining us today. We certainly appreciate it. And I'm really appreciate that you hit that design thinking part, because that's something that we're doing with our projects. And we'll be talking more about tomorrow when the groups have a chance to work together. And we'll be integrating some of those ideas we've heard today. So thank you very much for that.
It was my pleasure to be with you today. I hope you can leverage these insights, yeah, for your customers and for your teams and business. And let me know if any questions. Yeah, I will share my presentation with you, and I'm happy to stay connected. Thank you so much.
Dobro, Fala, thank you very much.
Hvala.
Thanks to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And looks like we've got our next presenter has joined us, I believe. Yes, here we come. He's connecting to audio now.
Yep.
There he is.
Hey. So I just want to make sure that before we start, I can share my screens here. If we can do a quick test, maybe.
Sure. As a matter of fact, you want to take a quick 5 minutes? We can put everybody on break for about 5 minutes, come back, and we'll be rocking and rolling. Does that work for you?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sure. As long as we can test the sharing, because it's I'm using 2 screens. I want to make sure that we're sharing the right.
Absolutely. Hey, class, let's take 5. It's at the top of the hour. So let's get everybody back at 5 after the hour, and we'll start on the next presentation. So take 5,
Okay.
and we'll see everybody in 5 minutes. Ayman, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see
Thank
you. All right, let me try this here. Okay, so let me start this. And then, hold on, just start slides. So what are you seeing, Clemson? Are you seeing just my slides or the slides and the notes?
I've got you just the slides.
Perfect. Okay, I
Yeah.
think we're set.
Excellent. And Alex, you're still with Zeppos, yeah?
I am, yes.
Ah, that's fantastic. And I really appreciate the emphasis on customers. Just so you know, the group is doing a project. They're going through design thinking. We've given them empathy map, business canvas to help them with that, as well as a product map.
Nice. And you guys, so you organize executive, business executive education, basically?
Yeah.
Training.
Yep.
Nice.
And they're all from Vodafone Egypt.
Nice. So what, about 11 people?
Actually, we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4. We had, I think, Irina or Blas, I think we had 6. We have 9 total. And I think we had 7 was our max for our last speaker. So we have some people that might be joining us a little bit late. But you can look at 5 to 7.
I see. And their roles are, what part of the organization are they from?
Well, we got everything. We have one of the gentlemen is responsible for all of their retail stores. We've got folks that are in finance, folks that are in supply chain, folks that are in pipeline management and digital, basically digital arrangement. A second. But they're a real good cross-functional group from across Vodafone.
That's great.
Just looking at, oh yeah, wholesale, finance, yeah. Regional sales, public segments. Oh yeah, that's Omar's the man. Public segments, and then even in cash operations, all senior managers are managers.
That's great. Awesome.
And where are you calling from today, Alex?
From Las Vegas.
Ah, of course. Awesome.
Yeah. Where are you located?
I'm in South Carolina, about an hour south of Charlotte.
Okay. How's the weather these days?
Right now it's a little overcast, but spring has sprung.
Oh, that's good.
Probably our favorite season here because all the flowers are coming out. And I'm a Southerner, so all the dogwoods are blooming. The azaleas are starting to bloom.
That's great.
They're getting ready for the Masters. So.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
things are.
Vegas is hot, dry, and dusty.
It's very dusty and hot for about 3 months is really brutal, but it's at least dry and
Yeah.
you know, it's tolerable.
Yeah.
It's the humidity is what gets me. So here is okay as long as you're out of the sun, you know.
Oh yeah, I used to love to go out there. When I was a military officer, we used to train near there, and we always made sure that if we were training near there, we had to land in Vegas and leave from Vegas.
That's smart.
It's just the way it was the cheapest to the government to do it that way.
Right. You do a little reconnaissance, you know, you do a few missions here and there to just see how things are.
Absolutely. My son is a Air Force officer, and he was out there for a number of months. And we've been trying to get him to move closer to home, but he found a place he really loved. He absolutely just loved everything about Vegas. I said, I don't know. It's far away.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, we have 2 boys. They're still, I mean, 8 and 10. But yeah, we're thinking like when they grow up, you know, where they're gonna end up, you know. because I'm originally from Bulgaria. Me and my wife are originally from Bulgaria, and we went a long way from home.
Oh, no kidding. Wow. And are you from Sofia or around that area?
I'm from Sofia. Yeah, I'm from
Yeah,
Sofia.
yeah.
And
I
I
was
get
I was an expat in Brussels and did a lot of work in Sofia. I
Oh.
didn't get into the countryside a lot, except to a couple of really nice resorts.
Oh yeah.
That I want to say were north of Sofia, and they were just beautiful. I loved it up there.
Oh yeah, no, it's a beautiful country. Just that society is a bit messed up.
Yeah, it was a little tough. We weren't working with the government. We were working with some business organizations, and it was a lot of fun. I think we're going to get everybody back here, Alex, and we can go ahead and get started. We took about 5 minutes of your time, so feel free to go over the top of the hour if you'd like.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I'll make sure that we have time for Q&A.
Great. Okay. Tell everybody welcome back. And welcome back, everybody. And if you want to go down to reactions and just give us a thumbs up if you're back. Remember, the reactions is at the bottom of your screen. You can click on reactions, and there we go. Thanks, Eunice. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Sorry for being late.
No worries. I think you're here at the right time. And so if you're back from your break, just go ahead and give us a thumbs up. We're going to go ahead and get started. Eunice, we know you're here. Thank you very much. And we'll go ahead and get started. Because I know in some of us we're on our phones, and it's hard to find that reactions piece. And we've got Alex. I'm not going to say your last name right. I'm sorry. Is Janov? Is that right?
Janov, that's fine. Yep, that's good.
Okay. And as we do our design thinking as our projects, you know that we're agile, so we're customer centered. And this is really, really a wonderful presentation by Alex, because he's going to talk all about customers. And I doubt there's an organization on the globe that focuses more on customers than Zappos. So I'm very excited to hear Alex, and I'm going to let him take it away. Thank
you so much, Clemson. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. And just to introduce myself, Alex Ganov, as I was talking to Clemson, I'm originally from Bulgaria. I came to the States over 30 years ago to study psychology, and that's my background is in experimental social psychology. And then I started applying it to the business world over 20 years ago. Married to a wonderful woman. We live in Las Vegas, which is the entertainment capital of the world. And we also have 2.4 beautiful children. And usually when I give this presentation in person, I get some laughs and chuckles. And that's one of the main points of my presentation is talking about customers as people. And now we tend to talk a lot about data and big data and averages and analytics. But what my presentation is going to be is about customers and customer loyalty, thinking about customers as people. So what I'm going to share with you are some thoughts about customer centricity and customer loyalty, and the whole idea that we cannot hope to win customers' trust and loyalty if we don't understand them as human beings instead of just numbers. So why loyalty? Loyalty matters because it leads to business results. And in our Zappos world, customer loyalty is our nirvana. So now imagine the possibilities if you have a net promoter score from your best customers of upwards of 80%, right? Comparable to businesses like the Ritz-Carlton, maybe a little bit better than Amazon and so on. Also imagine the possibilities if you would get emails from your customers like this, and that's a significant email because it was sent to Zappos in the year 2000, which was about a year after Zappos started selling shoes online. And at the time, the Zappos leadership realized that things would go wrong when you're a pioneer in a business. Things would go wrong, and in this case of this customer, she was waiting for a pair of shoes for a special event, and she didn't get them in time. So she was very upset. She wrote Zappos And the business at that point and Tony Hsieh and the leadership could choose to ignore that. Just one person is upset, no big deal, right? But what they did was they took that complaint seriously, and they contacted the person and they apologized and they sent her another pair of shoes very quickly. And what they got back from her was this email with the subject line, "Wow." And what's significant about it is that it was sent 21 years ago, which is remarkable, because nowadays a lot of businesses are talking about wowing customers, but this was early days. Also, imagine the possibilities if you get comments from hundreds of thousands of comments from your customers, and you do a quick word cloud of those comments, and what pops up are things like great and fast and easy and service. And this is what this is based on hundreds of thousands of customer comments by Zappos customers. And it's great to see that really what pops up are the real value proposition of Zappos. And I'm a big fan of defining a brand as not as what a company is telling others that it is about, but what others say about you when you're not in the room. And that's really what pops up about the Zappos brand. And that's really the power of customer centricity. And that's what we've been able to build at Zappos. Because we have built a business that our customers love, Zappos has turned 21 years this year. And so mind you, Zappos was started 21 years ago. And just to put it in perspective, the first web browser was developed just 9 years before that. So Zappos was really early on in this game of e-commerce. We can also talk about a 54% CAGR, compound average annual growth rate, compared to 10% of online retail and about 20% of e-commerce. Mind you, those numbers are pre-COVID. I wanted to give you another view before the pandemic. Of course, the pandemic upended a lot of things. And we can talk about how Zappos not only survived but really thrived during that. But again, these numbers are just to give you a sense before the pandemic. And then last but not least, the Zappos acceptance rate when you apply for a job at Zappos is actually a bit stricter or harder to get into Zappos than to get in Harvard. So you can see that unlocking customer centricity has enabled enviable loyalty, sustainable business growth, and really remarkable company culture for Zappos. The good news is that you don't have to be Zappos to be customer-centric. Now, unfortunately, the one thing that stands in the way of most companies getting there is that they don't understand their customers as people. And when you don't meaningfully understand your customers, it's easy to treat them like numbers. I don't know if you've heard the story of the statistician who had his head in a hot oven and feet in a block of ice, but on the average, they felt just fine. I opened with another joke, which is the 2.4 children. I mean, I can go on and on. I can do a whole hour of stand-up comedy about what happens when you turn people into numbers. But the point here is it's not a laughing matter. It's really a serious dilemma, which is how do we strive to create customer loyalty and emotional connection with our customers if we just turn them into numbers and start averaging them? And my kind of message to you is that you cannot average user experience. You cannot average human experience. Now, creating loyalty and driving business results is a lot easier when you remember the key insight of customer centricity, which is customers are people, not statistics. Let's take customer centricity a step further. Let's talk about human centricity. And that insight is at the heart of everything we do at Zappos. Our desire to understand our customers as people drives us from the culture we create to the experiences we create, both online and offline, to the structure we operate within, and all the way to the strategies we adopt. The first step towards human centricity is creating a culture that makes customers the heroes. Our drive to serve our customers is codified in the 10 company values that define our culture. The first one of these is deliver while through service. Tony Hsieh used to say that Zappos is a customer service company that just happens to sell shoes. And I mean, I can go through those. I can spend a whole hour talking about our values, but I'll just point a couple of those. One of my favorite is number 3, create fun and a little weirdness. And what this says is that we're not encouraged to be weird. We're encouraged to be ourselves at work, for example. There's pursue growth and learning and so on. And the last one is also one of my favorites is be humble. And Tony Hsieh used to exemplify that. He was a very humble leader, servant leader, dressed in a t-shirt and jeans at all times. And he kind of modeled this behavior. So just to give you a glimpse at what life at Zappos was again before the pandemic, I'll play a brief video for you.
I think it's really important for Zappos to hire people who align with our culture, that our culture fits, because every single hire has the ability to change the culture for the positive or the negative. And if you make too many compromises in your hiring decisions and you end up with an imbalance in your culture, then the negative can kind of outweigh the good.
The people that you work with are actually the most important resources in the entire company. It's not the product, it's not technology. So getting to know your people both personally and professionally will lead to not only a better environment, but to better results for Zappos.
People often say, like, do you pay people to be like smiley all the time? Like, no, but we're hopefully creating an environment where employees are helpful and happy. And I think that's just a side effect of our culture.
When people say, well, the core values, as an example you had at Zappos, those could never work in our company. Well, they probably shouldn't work in your company. You need to come up with your own identity. Tony will often get the question at Q&As about work-life balance, and I think he has a really great answer talking about work-life integration. So the idea that if you love what you do and you love who you work with, there's kind of a blurring of the lines of when you're working and when you're not.
We really appreciate and love what is unique about our coworkers. So we all come from different backgrounds and different experiences, and at Zappos, they don't want you to turn anything off. Like, you should just be who you are all the time. So I think the future of Zappos will continue to be rooted in this foundation of these 10 core values, that we will continue to be fiercely passionate about customer service.
Most people want to be communicated to in different ways. People have different strengths and weaknesses. So knowing that you are open and available to them, I think is really key. I guess my hope is that we maintain the current culture that we have and that we can enhance that culture. So we need to find the right mix of folks, basically get the right people on the bus, and hopefully the bus will go the right way.
And so here's a few tips for applying this approach to your company. Again, the main point is you don't have to be Zappos to create a company culture that makes your customers the heroes. So you start by taking a few small steps. It doesn't have to be complicated. For example, Zappos makes our 10 core values part of our training. And many companies require new hires to answer customer service calls, to understand customer concerns, to build empathy. Another example is no one at Zappos has an office. Again, this was when we were all in the office. Now we're working at home, but possibly in the future there will be some hybrid, or maybe go back to the office. We have open floor plans and open and honest communication. There's transparency in terms of expenses. Anybody can see another person any other person expenses, or any budget for any other group in the company. There's a small but very significant thing that kind of little ritual that happens daily is one automated email goes out to the whole company with the birthdays on that day and the anniversaries, work anniversaries on that day for the people who started on that day. So you know, you can congratulate your colleagues, and these are little gestures, but this is what really keeps the culture going. So what can you do to take some practical steps? First, you need to identify and articulate your company or team core values. Then it's very important to involve all employees and team members to participate in creating those and to get feedback from them. And then most importantly is put those core values into practice. These are not just core values are not just posters on a wall. And what I just told you about how Zappos puts it into practice are just a few examples. The next step towards human centricity is really curiosity. Zappos seeks a complete understanding of our customers as people, and we realize that everybody is different. So to get a complete understanding of our customer base means understanding what they're doing, their behavior, and why they're doing it, their mindset, their feelings, their fears, their aspirations, and so on. To do that at Zappos, we start with a customer mindset segmentation. Then we mine our shopping or transaction data, the big data, which is the actual behavior, and then we marry that with customer survey data to get deeper into the mindset. And once we identified the most valuable customers, we conducted phone interviews with a few of them to get even deeper into their mindsets, needs, and motivations, and so on. And we even made some home visits to look at their lives in context. Because, for example, selling shoes and clothes these are very personal items, and you want to really get a good understanding of the whole context. And so here, I think I'll tell you one story from one of those visits, which is the story of the crocheted shorts and the running shoes. And this happened a couple of years ago when we were doing research with our best customers, and we visited this family in the Los Angeles area. Of course, they agreed to invite us in their homes and to talk about shoes and clothes. And so when we went there, really beautiful home on the beach there, great family. So mom, dad, and two teenage daughters were there, and mom invited us in the home, and she was wearing these crochet shorts, and we started talking about how she got them. And the story was that one of her daughters had asked her to buy those shorts for her because a friend of hers had them. So mom is doing the online research to find those shorts, and a thought occurs to her, which is, can I pull it off? So as a mom, can I wear the shorts that my daughter wants to wear? And she pulls it off, and she's very proud of herself, and she can style them for going out or for more casual occasions and so on. So this was a great insight into the motivation behind shopping. And then at that point, we turned to her husband, and he was very quiet. And what about you, sir? And he goes, well, you know, I just plain, I want good quality, simple clothes. I usually for work wear a uniform. And it turns out he was a policeman. And then we could have stopped there and kind of generalized, said that, you know, we could have said women like shopping, like fashion, and men don't care about shopping and fashion. But we noticed some running shoes there in the home, and we asked him about that. And it turns out that the dad was an avid runner, in addition to being a father and a policeman, right? He was a very passionate runner. And when he started talking about running shoes, he kind of lit up, and he talked about, yeah, and I go to specialty running stores, and they measure my pronation and this, that. And so now you see the example, you dig a little bit deeper, and you get into even deeper motivations. And when you look at the family as a whole, you now see opportunities to, when you want to sell them shoes and clothes, to really speak to their deeper emotions, and you're going to be much more successful doing that. So here's a few practical tips. You can start by taking a few small steps today. So to understand your customers, first start with the business objectives or key questions. Don't start with the method. Let's say, don't start by saying we're going to do a survey, we're going to do a focus group. That's the cart before the horse. Once you have your business objectives clear, then translate them into research questions and then match those questions with research methods, be it qualitative or quantitative. The final step towards customer centricity, the Zappos way, is how you put your insights and your deep customer understanding into your strategy and linking those business priorities to customer needs. So that begins with, first of all, not treating all customers the same, because there are distinct differences between customer segments. So I told you about, we started with a customer segmentation, and what we discovered were different segments. So here, just for illustrative purposes, I'll show you how two segments differ. And these are, again, not the exact names of the segments. And I want to just illustrate how those different segments are quite distinct. So one of our segments, let's call it for this purpose, the active family. They spend quite a lot. They're engaged online. They care about, they're loyal to retailers and to brands. They don't care that much about discounts, and they also value an emotional connection with their customers. So, for example, in that group, over 75% read online reviews, 50% rate products and services, and so on. Now, let's take a look at another group, which is a distinct group. And here, for example, this group, let's call it the single guy for this illustrative purpose. But they care more about discounts. They don't care about emotional connection with the brand and so on. They don't spend that much, and they're not that actively engaged online. So, for example, if you want to ask people to review your products or to kind of spread the word on your behalf, are you going to send an email to that group or to the previous group, right? If you send the email to everybody, that request will be lost on half of the recipients of that email. So that shows the importance of really understanding your customers, segmenting them along really meaningful lines, along meaningful characteristics, and then treating them differently. Not treating them differently in terms of, for customer service, of course, you need to have a great baseline. You treat everybody well, but because you have limited resources, it's wise to really focus and develop and reward your best customers and go above and beyond for those customers. So, for example, we have some initiatives to personalize the website. So again, this is not the actual website now, but some ideas of how you can personalize. So if you understand that the person who's looking at the website is from the active family, you would show them, maybe this website, back to school, versus if the single guy, let's say, is looking at the website and they're passionate about outdoors and so on, they would not care back to school products, but they would care about hiking products, for example. So here's my last set of tips for you. What can you do? It doesn't have to be a big initiative. Talk to your customers, understand your customers, then consolidate all your data, customer data, into one database. If you have different databases about when people call your customer service versus when people go to your stores versus when people shop online, if these are all different, disconnected customer bases, you're not going to understand your customers meaningfully as people. All the dots have to be connected for you to get there. And then you can conduct simple data analysis. Now, with a large company like Vodafone, I'm sure you guys have a lot of resources, so you can have a big data science teams and analytics teams, and I'm sure you're doing that. But there are smaller companies that don't have those resources, so you don't need complicated analytics to really understand your customers. and then communicate those insights across silos. And it gets harder with bigger companies because then you have these groups and these silos, and many times there's lack of communication. So I want to wrap up this talk by sharing with you a customer comment that I read, part of our Voice of the Customer feedback loop, 11 years after the first email that I shared with you at the beginning. So this is a comment from July 2018, and it reads, I wanted to thank John in customer service for going the extra mile and making my day. I mentioned to him a few days ago that my mother had passed away. He and your company sent flowers and a very sweet note that arrived yesterday. I was so shocked and surprised to receive this thoughtful gift. It made me cry. Thanks, Zappos. I loved you all before because my entire family wears shoe sizes not found in stores. And now this. Wow. Thanks for showing that a large company can be awesome and compassionate. So you can see kind of the meaningful bookending 18 years apart of these wow comments. And so in conclusion, I would say that if you understand deeply your customers as people, your net promoter scores would skyrocket, your profitability could soar, and your customers could be writing you love letters for years to come. Thank you.
And so Alex has left some fantastic time for us to ask questions. And I might start with one, Alex, and then might call on Ayman, Aslam, Motaz, or Garhi and Amir to give their thoughts. Is from your presentation, which I found very compelling, you're spending a lot of time with the customer. You're going out, you're finding them, you're doing the simple database and everything else. How do you get the rest of the company to internalize the information and the same type of customer focus, let's just say, that you and your team have? How does that expand across the company?
That's a great question, Clemson. So there's a few things going on here. What I experienced, I've been with Zappos almost 7 years now. I've experienced both a top-down and grassroots effort. So the top-down is when I first joined Zappos. They were just going through a change of strategy, which was a new, more customer-centric strategy. First of all, Zappos was always a leader in customer centricity when it came to customer service on the phone. Always like unmatched, right? They invested in this years ago when other companies were cutting costs and making the process as painful as possible, right, for people. Zappos went the other way, which was remarkable. That they basically said, we're not going to win through technology necessarily. We're going to win through customer service and through great selection, right? That was the choice. So when I started, they were going through this strategy refocus called the best customer strategy, and I happened to have a series of conversations with the leaders when I started, and somebody directed me said that you have to go to talk to Arun, who was our COO. And he told me about that strategy change, and I said, "Well, do you have a great transactional data segmentation? Do you have any psychographic segmentation to understand why people behave?" And he goes, "No, we don't have that." And I said, "We can do that." And he goes, "Can you do it in 5 weeks? Because we're presenting to Amazon in 5 weeks, and we need the data by then." And I went like that, and I said, "Sure." And we were able to do it. And so that kind of put us on the map. So it was this like a top-down approach. But on the other hand, again, when I joined Zappos, I soon realized that nobody was reading customer comments from the websites, which was really surprising to me. And I saw a huge opportunity. And then, so I started the group of the Voice of the Best Customer, which was the grassroots approach. And that took 6-7 years to take because it wasn't mandated by executives. Unlike in other companies, I came from TurboTax, from Intuit, this was a CEO mandated metric. But at Zappos, this wasn't the case. So that took years to develop, and people were first skeptical about it and so on. So it took us, we were on a long journey, which nowadays I'm very proud to say I'm sending the CEO about 100, 200 comments every Friday, and he reads them, right? So it's both. You need kind of both approaches.
Yeah, absolutely. But it took, you said, like 7 years to really have that aspect take hold. Okay.
Because it was a journey of first collecting the data. So we need to develop our own internal tool to be able to capture sensitive information, right? That took convincing, and you know, because again, I didn't have any authority, so I had to convince like a developer to do that. Then we had to figure out a tool for text analytics to uncover the root causes. That took a couple of years, right?
Wow.
And so it's, but it's, we were, mind you, in that those days we were in a self-organization mode, which was one of Tony's experiments. And in that, you know, again, you don't have authority, you just have to lead, like by natural leadership, and just it takes longer.
No, absolutely. No, thanks for that. I really appreciate that insight. Let me
Sure.
turn it over to the class and get questions from our participants here. What are your thoughts and what are your questions?
I was either very clear or very confusing, if there's no questions.
I think they're just very.
No, I'm
There
just
we go, Montas.
want to
It's
ask-
very
sorry,
clear.
I'm sorry. I'm just asking for the part that that we have to treat to have different. I don't to treat the customer the same. What do you mean by this part?
Oh, okay. So no, that's a great question. So I'm a big fan of the concept of customer centricity, and I would what I learned that from an online course on marketing 101 from the Wharton School. So you have the best and the brightest marketing minds there. So there's a guy by the name of Peter Fader. So he's the godfather of customer centricity, and he talks about the fact that, you know, when you have a very large customer base, your customers are not all the same. You know, some customers are going to be really very profitable for your business. They're going to spread the word. They're going to help you like organically market your business, and others may just want to try to take advantage of you, right? And so he's recommending in his mind that the customer-centric approach is first realizing that not all customers are the same in their behavior and in their mindsets, to segment that, to really understand who's who, and then while still maintaining a level of excellence for everybody, when you treat them nice, you know, treat them well, all of them, but for only a certain group that is your most valuable customers in terms of lifetime customer value and so on, then you go above and beyond for those people, because when you have every company has limited resources, and when you spread it equally across your customer base, that's what they call the peanut buttering, right? You spread it even, and then it's not going to be as successful as if you really understand who's more valuable to your business than others. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Amara, it sounded earlier like you might have a question as well.
No, I was actually saying that it's clear. So we don't have, because you were asking if you have questions. So thank you.
Sure.
Other questions? Gary, Aman, any questions?
No, Clemson, I'm good. It's clear. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Because Alex, I've got one for you, because we talked a little bit about how tough it is to get it across the company. And the question now is how difficult is it to maintain that customer focus now that you've established it? To sustain that energy, that drive, basically that orientation totally on the customer. How hard is it to keep that going?
Well, Clemson, it's always hard, right? You need to be deliberate about it, and the company needs to believe in that. And just like Zappos went against the grain early on, said we're going to invest in customer service, and that's how we're going to win. I think it's essential to keep that focus. I mean, we're part of Amazon. We're an Amazon subsidiary, so I mean, there's a good match there because Amazon and Jeff Bezos, they've always said that they're customer obsessed. So it's a very good fit. But without the executives and leadership modeling that behavior and investing and showing that it matters, it's things can change, right? And I mean, again, to go back to the question about customer centricity, and I really recommend Peter Fader's book. He has a book called Customer Centricity. And in that book, he basically acknowledges that the most common business models, I mean, starting from Henry Ford and on, is product centricity, which is fine. Companies can be excellent and they can be product centric, right? And they can be excellent by being operationally excellent. And they can and also have product superiority, which is Apple. Apple, in his definition, Apple is not customer centric. Even Nordstrom is not customer in his definition, because again, Nordstrom have excellent customer service, but they don't understand customers on an individual level. So they have this story, very famous customer service story, where in Anchorage, Alaska, or in Juneau, somewhere in Alaska, this guy came and to the Nordstrom store with a pair of tires, and he was confused because the store before that was a tire store, and so he thought he was going back to a tire store. He said, "I need to return them," and then being Nordstrom, they took him and they refunded his money. And it's a great story, but in Peter Fader's view, it's not smart business. It's only smart business if this person is really a great customer for Nordstrom. He's going to bring them more business in the long run. But if it's just some confused guy that's never going to go and shop there again, that's not smart business. So you can be, if you can afford to be product centric, if you can really, and in the old days it was easier because customers didn't have a lot of information, you didn't have a lot of choices. Nowadays it gets harder and harder to win just by being product centric.
Yeah, with the number of choices that are out there, it may, unless yours is absolutely premier. And I mean, some are making the argument now that Apple is losing that product centricity because of the different amounts of phones that are out there that are performing just as well as an iPhone.
Well, exactly. So I mean, they're still really doing really well. But I can tell you, Nokia were the king. I mean, they and I'm originally from Bulgaria, and I remember, and it's really interesting because they were in a way segmenting people, and they were developing different sets for different jobs to be done, if you will. They had the set for the music lover, they had the set for the farmer. I mean, they had, and then but they missed a tiny little trend which was called the internet, and they kind of missed on that. And I think we know we know how that ended.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And as someone who's tried to get customer service from Apple, yeah, they're a product-centric organization.
and so that's in terms of customer service, but also, they don't need to understand people at an individual level. I mean, they even another example by Peter Fader is Starbucks.
Yep.
It's kind of a contradictory thing, but if you go to your local Starbucks and they know you, right? I mean, you come in, they say, "Hi, Clemson, here's your usual drink. How are you?" Blah, blah, blah. But then you go to a store across town and they don't know you. Now you start from scratch, right? So it's an interesting idea, but we tend to now, because we're able to focus on big data, we focus on big data. But then when you start averaging people, then you end up with nothing, right? In a sense, in terms of a personal experience.
No, absolutely. Let me pause there and see what questions the class might have.
I mean, maybe I have a question for the class. What are some of the customer related challenges that you guys have? How well do you know your customers?
And feel free to come off mute or put your answer in the chat.
Well, we have a couple of things. Yani we're looking definitely into data and numbers. And on the other side, we do researches and focus groups and hear directly from our customers, which is very helpful and very insightful to understand the pains and what they like and what they don't like about the product.
Nice.
And so on.
That's great. Do you guys have like a big research team?
Yes, we have a research team centralized for the whole company, and they provide us with all the needed info, working with other research agencies.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah.
And do you see, I mean, and you guys being, you know, representing Vodafone Egypt, I would say there may be interesting differences in terms of different regions and cultural differences. And are you guys looking at that, like how, you know, doing cross-cultural research and so on?
I think from a research perspective, we look more at social economic level. This is like the main difference. But I think if you're referring to the part of the race, for example, and things like, for example, UAE, they depend more on the race and whether they are locals or not. So this is your question, right? But for Egypt, like I think mostly they're all like Egyptians. So the difference mainly is in the social economic class.
I see.
If this answers your point.
I see. So one thing that that my recommendation would be to so segmenting your customer based on demographics can be useful, right, in terms of age, socioeconomic status, income, and so on. But what's much more useful is segmenting based on their mindsets, right? Because if, let's say, I mean, there's an argument that let's say age or income, current income segmentation is not so very helpful, because let's say it's very easy to do, right? Because you say, okay, how much do you make, and you say you have these ranges and you put people in those buckets. But what happens? Let's say you get a raise tomorrow, and you go from this bucket to the other bucket. Do you think you change as a person? You don't, right? Your needs are still the same. Your mindset is still the same. And you may, even if maybe your salary doubles, you may still be a saver. So then, you know, you need to understand those mindsets. So who likes spending money, who likes saving money, right? That's more of a mindset. And so on. So I would encourage to think about psychographic segmentation in addition to demographic and behavioral.
And do you have any more? I really appreciate you bringing up segmentation, because I know that some organizations will develop personas and say that this person likes X, this person likes Y, and that kind of thing. I'm wondering, you've talked about two psychographic examples. And could you share some more? Because I really like the idea of a saver, a non-saver, a buyer. What are some of those other psychographic segments that we might want to consider?
Sure. So that's a fantastic question, Glenn. So to do a good mindset or psychographic segmentation, it's very tricky because you can segment people by 1,000 different, 1,000. I mean, like eye color. You can segment people by eye color if you want, right? But you need to decide what's important for your business. What are the psychological characteristics that matter for your business? So I'll give you an example. When I was at TurboTax, which is a do-it-yourself tax software in the United States, gender, for example, made no difference. Like if you're a man or a woman, the way you approach taxes, the way you approach finances makes no difference, right? But now I work for Zappos, which is shoes and clothes. And guess what? Gender makes a difference, right? We have different, styles for men, for women, different sizes. In terms of, some people like to save money, some people like to spend money. That cuts across all different industries. You need to understand that. And so you start by really figuring out what's important for your business, and then segment on that, and then see how the demographics and others overlay on that, how they fall out on that. And then it's a great question about personas, and personas are really very popular, but they can be misunderstood because personas really, when they're used correctly, they're done after you've done the segmentation, because the segmentation is the scientific grouping of people, non-overlapping groups of people. You create non-overlapping groups of people. If they overlap, your segmentation is useless, right? But when you create those distinct groups of people, and they're based on statistics. Now, these are not people, these are statistical ghosts, apparitions, right? Just like the 2.4 children. Go find me a family with 2.4 children, But then you create personas on top of that as a communication tool. Personas are a communication tool. If you start creating personas which are completely, they represent real people, but they're completely made up. They're creative thing. So if you don't start with your scientific foundation of the research, you can create 1,000 personas. I mean, you can have like 100 men called Bob, Joe, like you can come up with their little stories, and how do you decide what's a valid persona and what's not? So that's what I would say. Start with your segmentation. Then for each segment, do one or more personas, right? You can have, in our case, we had one of our best customer segments. I mean, we had a family, but also we had a single person, right? Female, for example, that's younger, that just, so then within that, it becomes much more tangible, and it's connected then to the real research and data.
No, absolutely. And identifying that in a way that really contributes to data analytics could be, that's quite a process.
Right.
Yeah.
And what we did, and then you work with, so what we did for our mindset segmentation is, for Zappos, we started with the value propositions that were identified by Tony and the leadership years ago. Right? Who's the Zappos customer? Why do customers come to Zappos? They come for the great customer service, for the emotional connection to the brand, for great selection, for this, that, right? So these are these were the values. And then, so we segmented on that. You do a survey, we did a survey with about 2,000 people. And then the person, I worked with my friend who's a really awesome former neuroscience PhD turned market researcher. He's right, the numbers. I'm not a mathematician. He's much smarter than me. I prefer to work with those people that are much smarter. but he crunched the numbers, right? And then he created what's called a typing tool. So based on a subset of those questions, he calculates the probability that you would be in one group or another. And so that is this tool. And then basically based on those answers, our analytics group was able to, they use something called lookalike modeling. So they take all the data and then they were able to type everybody, let's say 10 million customers in the database and assign those segments to them. So it's not, I mean, part of that part is rocket science, right? The actual math is rocket science, but it can be done. And then based on that, then you say, okay, who's the saver? Who's the spender? Right? Because if you just go by their income, you would, what if you say, okay, we kind of know you have a lot of money, like, why don't you spend some, right? They're like, I want to save it. I don't want to spend it. You know, so that's where you're gonna go amiss.
Yeah, because as I'm thinking about Vodafone, the two things that I heard you start with was the who and the why.
Exactly.
Who is buying from us and why are they buying?
Right.
And then what are they buying?
Right.
And now we're starting to go from macro down to micro of, is somebody just buying a subscription service? Is somebody buying unlimited? Is someone buying only local? Or we had talked before in another class, or is somebody just buying landline still?
Right. And why exactly? Why because I mean, you may have people that think it's cell phones are not secure, for example. That's why you need a landline. I mean, who knows? Like, again, my example from TurboTax, we had people who would, even in the age of the internet, they would go and buy the CD and put it in their computer, and they thought that was more safe than being online. But what if your computer melts down and then everything is gone, right? And plus it can be hacked and so on, but it's the what they believe, that's what matters. It's not what's real in a way, right? And you need to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got time for one or two more questions from the group. Islam, Omar, Emar, Motaz. Any thoughts?
Thank you.
Thanks, Motaz.
So you guys ready to follow Zapo's example and get rid of the org chart and of your titles and everything? No, but even at Zappos now things are changing, right? Tony departed and then he tragically passed away a few months ago.
Yeah.
So now things are changing and it's becoming a bit more like Amazon, and that's what you would expect. But
well, in another call, I'd love to have a conversation about how that culture is changing inside of Zappos and the impact it has on decision making. But I really want to thank you for joining us today to talk about that customer centricity. That is one of the key parts of the projects that we're putting together. And identifying customers is absolutely so important to finding, the right immediate minimum viable product and then iterating that over time to make sure we're meeting their needs. So thank you very much for joining us, Alex. We certainly appreciate it. And thank you for your insights. And as we have more questions, I know that members of the class will be getting back in touch with you. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely, thank you. And feel free to send me some of those questions and I can answer them offline.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate that.
Sure, thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.
And class, if you'd stay online for a little bit, we're going to have one of the, what we want to do is just spend a couple of minutes. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time because we have time tomorrow. Is what is one thing that stood out for you from what you heard from Alex or Svetla today? What is one thing that stood out from you? And don't have a slide or anything, you can put it in chat, but I'm going to ask you to come off mute and share with us what is one thing that stood out for you from the two presentations that we had today.
Well, for me, it was more or less a refreshment about the customer experience, which we usually do the journeys and all these kind of things along the way in Vodafone. Maybe the thing about the emotions and how to press the buttons of the emotional thing in the first presentation. And I like the term of psycho segmentation. I need to absorb this more or read about it.
No, thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate that. Actually, quite honestly, I had never heard of that until he brought it up. I knew people were doing it, but I'd never heard that term before. And I thought that was very, very powerful. If we understand how people make decisions and we can position ourselves in a way that it's easy for them to make a decision about us, wow, that's very powerful. And it does take, it might take a little rocket science, but more than that, I think it takes a group really understanding the customer. So thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. And Motaz, one thing that stood out for you.
I like the part regarding that customer service is a differentiator for the brand, for the customer. That it's a factor that that it's a factor that's affecting the brand of the company. Because it's always affecting the customer satisfaction for the company. So the customer service is one of the factors that affecting the brand of the company or the service.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and I really like the way you say that it's a key differentiator. And I'm curious about how you create that. You know, how do you create that type of customer service that sees itself as a key enabler for revenue generation? It sees itself as a differentiator. Any thoughts?
Yes, there are indicators that that do the satisfaction for the customer for the customer, and such indicators customer service should utilize or apply to try to give more satisfaction for the customer, and this is affecting also the NPS or the NPS of the company, which is representing the satisfaction of the customer to the brand of the company or the service. So the indicators or the KPIs should be utilized by the customer service to try to give the satisfaction for the customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And also if the customer service people are engaged in helping create those KPIs so they know what they're going to be asked and they have buy-in, you know, I think that's really powerful. Yeah. No, thanks for that, Motaz. I appreciate that. And Islam, what we're doing is we're just saying the one thing that stood out for us from the two presentations that we had today. So for you, what was one thing, Islam, that stood out for you on our two presentations today? And you might be on mute.
No, I have a connection problem, so just give me a second, please.
Sure, absolutely. Give Islam a moment here. Oh, I think he just dropped off. Yeah, he was having some connection issues. Look, I'm not going to keep everybody here because we're going to be spending time tomorrow on your projects. And just a heads up, I'll be sending out a note later this afternoon that you will get tomorrow morning that will talk a little bit about our process tomorrow, that will give the team some time to come together and work, and then share some ideas with the other teams as well. So we'll continue that sharing of ideas. We'll also continue moving forward on our projects and getting some ideas from the rest of the class. Looks like Islam has made it back. Not sure if he has a chance to share. I think we're still having some communications challenges. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and we will see you tomorrow when we'll work in our projects. Any last comments from anybody? Gary?
No, I just want to thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate it. Motaz, thank you very much for your insights as well. We'll share those with the rest of the class tomorrow. Now, thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.